Imagine waking up in a world where the greatest empire you've ever known, an empire that ruled for centuries, stretched across continents, and defined civilization, ceases to exist overnight. On September 4th, 476 CE, that's exactly what happened. The Western Roman Empire, once the unshakable superpower of the ancient world, collapsed. But was it really sudden? Or was this fall centuries in the making? Today, we uncover the story behind the day that changed history forever. Welcome to Earth Sights on This Day series. In this video, we're diving deep into the fall of the Western Roman Empire on September 4th, 476 CE, a moment that many historians consider the official end of ancient Rome and the start of the Middle Ages. We'll explore why the empire fell, who was involved, the dramatic events of that day, and how this single moment reshaped the course of European history forever. If you think empires are invincible, this story will make you think twice. So, let's begin with a question. Was this fall an event or a long, inevitable decline? By the late 5th century CE, the Western Roman Empire was a shadow of its former self. Once a realm stretching from Britain to North Africa, it now barely held Italy and a few scattered territories. The economy was collapsing. Trade routes were shrinking. Heavy taxation crushed the population, and inflation spiraled out of control. The once great cities of the West were deteriorating, while the Eastern Roman Empire, known as Byzantium, thrived in Constantinople. But why was the West so weak? There were two key reasons. One was political instability. In the last 50 years alone, Rome had dozens of emperors, many assassinated or overthrown. Another was the barbarian invasions. Germanic tribes like the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths poured into Roman lands, carving out their own kingdoms. Rome was no longer the center of power. It was just another city struggling to survive. Here's where it gets almost poetic. The last emperor of the Western Roman Empire was a teenager named Romulus Augustulus. But Romulus wasn't destined for greatness. He was a puppet ruler, placed on the throne by his father, the general Orestes. Real power lay in the hands of the military, and much of that army was made up of Germanic mercenaries. These soldiers were tired of broken promises. They demanded land in Italy as payment, but Orestes refused. That decision would cost Rome dearly. This is where the story takes a dramatic turn. Odoacer, a Germanic chieftain and one of those mercenary leaders, had had enough. When Orestes refused the soldiers' demands, Odoacer led a revolt. Orestes was captured and executed, and the gates of Ravenna, the imperial capital, fell to Odoacer's forces. And then came September 4th, 476 CE. Odoacer entered the imperial palace and forced Romulus Augustulus to abdicate the throne. Here's the twist. Odoacer didn't claim the title of emperor. Instead, he declared himself king of Italy and sent the imperial insignia to the Eastern emperor in Constantinople, effectively saying, "We don't need an emperor in the West anymore." The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years, until the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Roman law, culture, and traditions continued to shape Europe through the Catholic Church, language, and architecture. So, while the Western Empire ended politically, its legacy lived on. In many ways, it still does today. After Odoacer deposed Romulus Augustulus, the Western Roman Empire ceased to exist. Europe entered the early Middle Ages, a time often called the Dark Ages, though that term is debated today. Rome's fall didn't just end an empire. It reshaped the political, cultural, and economic map of Europe forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most dramatic turning points, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop a comment below. Do you think modern nations can learn from Rome's fall? Thanks for watching, and as always, thank you for learning with Earthsight.